I'll be the same.
Before we start here, I just want to let you guys know we got some books to give away. We have lots of books to give away here tonight. A couple of them. The Power of Now, guys, reminded by Eckhart Tolle. And then English Prospects, and that's provided by Property Engines. And there's our two tonight, right? And so if you're interested in getting into the drawing for the book giveaway, we'll do it at the end of the night. Just we don't have a business card. There's some Gene Real Estate Capital cards on there. You can just put your name on there and drop them in here. We'll do the drawing little regular wrap up tonight, and then we'll go from there. So, you want to tell us a little about you and what you guys provide?
My name is Ron. We basically provide funding for real estate investors, loans, DSCR, construction, and commercial properties. We also use unsecured business lending. So, if you're thinking about buying a home, feel free to visit the website. It's very cool. You get a quote within 24 hours. It'll give you a better idea of what the points and what the rates are.
Appreciate it. And thanks for sponsoring. Hey, so welcome out. Sorry for the people that went downtown again. Just to give you guys a heads up, about 4 months ago, the air conditioners went down, and the air conditioners are yet to come back up yet. So I appreciate you guys' patience with the back and forth. We are tentatively looking at some different options. We're considering this option as a permanent home. We're considering going back out of town as a permanent home, but I'm also checking out a bar, so they're there at 72nd and 980, that would give us a whole entire bar, they have a stage. So looking at some different options. If you guys need some feedback of what you think would be best, I'm open ears. So, or if you got a venue you think we should try out, please let me know. So, first off, I want to give a shout out to the girls up front. My wife, Jessica, runs the front desk, and Katie's up there, and my little girl, Skylar's up there too. So we give a round of applause for them helping us out a little bit. Specifically Skylar, she's kind of like our food taste tester up there. She said she didn't like mac and cheese. So. Tonight's event sponsor is Liquid Lending, and Liquid Lending has been a sponsor, our money lending sponsor of ours since the day we started. Obviously that's Collin Schwartz, Owen Dasher, Chris Conlon, and a few other partners. But I want to offer Owen to come on up and talk a little bit about Liquid Lending and everything about your company. Like, come on down, Owen Dasher. If you guys don't know Owen, he's the guy that's the voice of OmahaREIA. He's the sexy one here. He did like 10 seconds today because he was too old. So.
Make sure to compliment Ted on his glasses because he's been making fun of me for about the last 5 years about having glasses. So, good to see you guys. I haven't been to one of these events in a while, so it's good to be back out. See a lot of old, familiar faces. No emphasis on old. See some new people too.
So I'd love to meet you. Stop by, say hi. Liquid Lending Solutions. I think we've worked with several people in the audience here on hard money loans. So what Liquid Lending does is we're a local, all of us, the 4 owners. He did leave out Brandon Tauber. No, he's gonna call you out on that, by the way. Yeah, Brandon's the guy in the back room making everything work for Liquid Lending. So thanks for coming out. We really appreciate you guys. We've been a proud sponsor of the OmahaREIA for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been a lot of fun. Loved getting to know everybody in the room here. If you have a project coming up, a hard money loan might be something that would fit for your needs. We work with a lot of experienced flippers, BRRRR investors, and we also work with newbies. So if you have a deal that's really good and you are looking for funding options, we'd love to take a look at what you have. Feel free to reach out to either myself, Angie Thiel is on our team, Angie at liquidlendingsolutions.com. She's a great resource. She kind of runs a lot of our day-to-day operations on the lending side. So stop by, say hi when you guys get a minute. Enjoy your presentation with Collin Schwartz and Jason Belt tonight. They're going to kick ass, I'm sure. They both got some amazing stories. So thanks for the intro, Ted. Take it away.
Thanks, Owen. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, so a couple things. Afterwards, Redbox Plus, which is a dumpster company, cool thing about them is they actually have the porta potty built into the dumpster, or not, but when you have a job site, that's kind of nice. They're our drink sponsor this evening, and they will take care of the first round of domestic draws after the event, so after 8:30. That will be held in the bar right down here, and I was just told that they're going to have live music tonight, too. So enjoy some live music and then have a few drinks with us. We always say that the best networking always happens after the event, if you know what I mean. And yeah, so upcoming events, a couple things I want to go over with you is Wednesday, September 11th, there's a OmahaREIA event, which is a property tour with Austin Chambers. And Ryan, is that correct? Where's Ryan Miller?
Yes, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, okay. And where's that at?
I'll get that address.
Okay, cool. So if you're interested in that OmahaREIA event, how that works is they showcase people's properties. You get to come to the event. It's no charge. You don't need to be a member. And when you go to that event, all the contractors, everybody involved with that renovation are there on site. No question's a dumb question. And so ask away, right?
Ask away.
Yeah, man.
7741 Woolworth.
7741 Woolworth. And go to OmahaREIA on Facebook to get more details on that. Friday, September 20th is OmahaREIA Luncheon. It's at the rail car. It's open to everybody. Room fits about 45 people. It's first come, first serve. It's from 11:30 to 1. Meet, mingle, and talk about your successes. Everybody's welcome. We want to know what some success you had in your personal life, business in the last 30 days. You should get a good turnout on that. We've had as many as 25 to 50 people there. And definitely come check us out if you haven't, or if you have been, we want you to come back. On Tuesday, October 1st, we're doing 23 key questions in rapidly scale your business with Michael Kramer. He just had a book come out with Chris Voss. Check out Michael Kramer's podcast. He has a really interesting story. He's a local entrepreneur. He has I think 12 family members all working in the same business. I don't even know how that's possible, but it's a great story, and I think you guys really love to hear from him. November 5th, we have David Dodge. David Dodge is the top wholesaler in Missouri. He's based out of St. Louis. He has spoken at Collin's event a few years ago, and I was first introduced to him through Jeff Cohn down at KW Elite. Great guy, good speaker. He's written like 4 or 5 books. We've also had him on our podcast, and I think you guys are gonna be blown away. He's everything about him is about education and talking about what he does and how he can make you guys better. And then December, we're kind of in between a few. So either I have 3 speakers lined up. We're waiting for everybody to line in on which month they're going to be. We're talking to Dan Zimmerman to talk about short-term rentals, management, and also just his portfolio and his success with laundromats and so on. We're also going to have Jeff Beals somewhere in one of those 3 months. And we're also going to have Frankel come out and talk about taxes like we do every year, kind of get yourself prepared on what you need to know for this upcoming tax season. A couple sponsors I want to shout out. We have 2 new and renewed sponsors. Thrasher Basements just renewed for another year. So thank you for sponsoring them, reaching out to them. Because of you guys and reaching out to them, they saw the value in OmahaREIA. We're a smaller organization than a large company like that would normally take on. So they got enough leads and they appreciate it, and they're going to do another year with us as a gold sponsor. And then also C&B Custody, which traveled all the way in from Kansas. Yes, today. They're one of our new sponsors, and they do self-directed IRAs. Would you want to come talk a little bit about your business since you spent all the time to drive out here? You got to talk a little bit. And they did an awesome webinar, and if you guys are interested in learning more about that, we'll make that available again on our page. But also, we're going to do another webinar here soon, too. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I've got Kelly with me over there at the booth also. We are an IRA custodian. We are from Seneca, Kansas, which, if you're not familiar, it's about 2 hours straight South Pawnee City. We got somebody's nodding. Yes. So we feel like we're local because 2 hours to us, it takes us 2 hours to get anywhere. So we feel very local to Omaha. We've been a member of the Kansas City area REI for several years. We've done several of their conferences, and that has gone well for us. So we've decided to venture out to Omaha, Wichita, St. Louis. But we have been an IRA custodian for about 40 years now. We have 40,000 accounts across the country, $4 billion in assets under custody. So our group, we're a traditional bank, but our group does only IRA custody over in our building on our side of the street. So really good at it. We know what we're doing. For a long time, we didn't do direct real estate in IRAs, but we have been for 5 to 6 years now. So if you're not familiar with that, please stop by and talk to us. There's a lot that goes into it, but your benefits really are going to be when you're buying real estate property with IRA money, you're not paying any tax, any capital gains ever. Those are all tax-free, protected. If you do that with a Roth IRA, you're never going to pay tax on any of your earnings either. Your earnings come into the IRA, you take them out tax-free. A traditional IRA, you will pay tax on that money when you take it out, but you've got all that compounding of your earnings for lots of years before you take it out and do pay tax on it then. So some great benefits. We also like to say, you know, it's another pocket of money for you for financing, with loans being as high as they are these days. If you don't want to get a loan, but you've got cash in an IRA to buy an investment property with, you can absolutely use that cash as another funding source. So stop by and talk to us. Kelly does all of our real estate transactions, her and her team. She kind of heads up that team, and she can help you out with how do you title things, how do you register it, all that good information. She just makes me talk. She can do the question.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. If somebody wanted to just reach out to you guys about even loans and in that, do you guys, are you a phone call we can make? Okay. Sweet, thank you. I've done a self-directed IRA when I first started getting into investing, and I went through a company out of Denver, and I thought that was the closest thing we had to a local company out here. So it's really nice to know we got somebody just a couple hours away that we can reach out to. So thank you for sponsoring us. And we talked about the books, and I just want to give you an update on our podcast really quick. Owen and I have a great podcast called OmahaREIA Radio. If you guys have not checked it out, please subscribe to it. One of the biggest gifts you could give to us is giving us a like and subscribe, right, Owen? And so we have 111 likes and subscribes on our channel. And if you guys haven't done it, please just pull out your phone. It'd just be a huge deal for us if you could just give us a rating of 5-star. Nothing lower than 5-star, though, because that doesn't do anything you could. We have one person that gave us a 4-star, so we were like 4.9 forever. We're back up to 5. So whatever format you listen to, it'd be really appreciative. And if you haven't listened to us, please listen to us and let us know what you think. We've been trying a new format lately. Before, we always did kind of the beginning part, which we don't have a name for. So if you have a name suggestion, let us know. If it's Kickoff Mondays or Momentum Mondays or whatever it is. But the segment that we're just Owen and I chit-chatting is now on Mondays, and then Wednesdays just gets right to the interview. We've heard feedback on both sides that you absolutely hate listening to us talk, and so now you don't have to listen to us talk, you just listen to the interviews on Wednesdays, or vice versa. So appreciate it and love your feedback on that. But you can check us out on any format channel for your podcast. We're also on YouTube and Rumble for the video version. So thank you for the support on that. But without further ado, and I'm sorry we did get started a little late today, and the main reason was that we didn't have internet when we got started here, so we apologize about that. But we are all set up. But Dennis, I did get a note that said that the sound is low on online, just so you know. Cool. Well, first off, welcome everybody to OmahaREIA. Thank you for being here tonight. We have a fantastic session lined up. I am particularly thrilled because our speakers are not just industry giants, but they're friends who I've had the pleasure of knowing for a few years now. First up, Collin Schwartz. He's a name that needs no introduction in our circles, at least. Collin and I go back over 6 years, and I've even had the honor, correct me wrong, Collin, did I sell you and Chris your first apartment building? Is that a stat I can say? Okay. No, but when you guys met, but when you guys partnered up, did I sell you your first apartment building? Yes. Okay, so I can say that now. I had the honor of selling them their first partner apartment building. Since then, Collin has had a really incredible journey as a co-founder of business development and director of Leavenwealth. He's grown the company and assets under management to an impressive $270 million. I had to correct that at 240, so a little increase there. Collin's strategic vision and leadership has truly shaped the success of Leavenwealth, And you might also recall his insights from episode 10 on REIA Radio. And I thought it was like a big deal, like, it's episode 10, this is like a pinnacle number. So we call Collin in to be on that one. Next, we have Jason Belt. After the powerhouse of Leavenwealth, who brings the wealth and experience and some pretty incredible stories to the table. Jason is not just a director of capital resources. He has raised over $40 million and contributed over 100 million acquisitions. He also got a background with the Secret Service and just shy of making the Olympics. He's also John Cena's official lookalike, so ask him about that. He said that if we get him enough high praise, he'll take his shirt off at the end of this. So just for the ladies. And so without any further ado, let's get a big round of applause for our friends and real estate leaders in our industry, Collin Schwartz and Jason Belt.
Yeah, Jason's coming up next.
Oh, you're gonna
saving the best for last.
Best for last. Okay,
hey,
there we
but
go.
if you guys are curious about Jason, there's this really cool video on YouTube. If you look up pec tear or deadlift Jason, you'll see a video with about 80 million views. It's really entertaining. Jason's become not only a great friend, but just an awesome colleague. So, Jason, kudos. I probably wouldn't be standing up here doing the things that I'm doing without you. So, massive appreciation, brother. Guys, I just want to give Ted a huge round of applause. This event, the REIA event itself, spawned my meetup event, not the one that Ted created, but the previous one. And Ted has brought this to a whole new level. So everybody, give him a big round of applause. Seriously. This will be hopefully the last time I use a 4-letter word, but Ted, you fucking rock, man. Appreciate you, brother. So I don't speak a lot, so I've put a lot of thought into this of just kind of where I want to go with this. I want to tell you my story. I want to give you guys some good tidbits, and I also want to change your mind on how you think about things. But before I get started, has anybody here been stuck before? Just stuck in life? Just raise your hands. Okay. How many people are stuck right now? Just be honest. Okay. Guys, gals, it's okay. So the reason I bring this up, January 1st, 2017, I was on vacation, and, in retrospect, I had a great W-2 career, making 6 figures, had a nice house, child on the way. I already had a young child at home. Life was like, from where I grew up and how I started, I grew up in a small town in Belen, New Mexico, 50% graduation rate. I was literally the one to get out. My parents didn't own a house until they were 50 years old. It was $99,000, and they used some mortgage products so they could get money back at closing. So for me to be standing here is pretty surreal. But at the time, I thought I had everything, and I'm sitting down with my wife. It's her last day of vacation, and I think we're having a good lunch. And she looks at me, and I don't know what brought this topic on, but she's like, "Collin, you talk about changing, but you're not changing." And I'm just like, what? This kind of ruined the mood. So I'm sitting there, and, I just kind of, as a typical guy, just kind of go in my hole. I'm like, look around. We're on this great vacation. This is going well, etc. Well, I don't know if it's just the New Year's and reflection time, but, about 6 hours later, I'm back in our room, and I'm like, I just can't get it out of my head. I'm like, okay, second time I curse. Fuck, she's right. Like, there is a reason that she said that. She knows me, she sees me, and she said that for a reason, because she could tell I was continuing to look for something, but was not pursuing it. So I did as anybody does. I got on Facebook and, tried to wallow in my tears, and I found a classmate of mine from high school who actually also became pretty successful, and he posted his top 10 books, and his number 1 book that he put was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, the first time I heard about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think was in 2009, and it was by a cab driver in New York City that by the end of the cab ride, he was asking me for $5,000. So my like taste for the book was very little. I was like, what kind of scam is this? But now I had kind of a different outlook on it. I ended up picking up the book that night. I read through the whole thing, and on the flight home, I was just banging my head there, just thinking about what if I had the freedom to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. Because right now I did not have that. And in the next 2 days, it would become even more apparent that that was certainly the case. I get back to my work, and my boss, who is a good friend and still a friend of mine, was actually my workout partner, calls me into his office and says, Collin, I'm sorry, man, but you know that unpaid vacation time that you've been taking? You know, I know you've got side businesses and kids, et cetera. He's like, yeah, we have to get rid of that. It's like, okay, so when's my next, paid day off? He's like, well, it starts accruing in 10 months again. Well, I found out I was having my second child. So it's just kind of this dagger. Not 30 minutes later, I'm sitting down at my desk, and a guy 30 years my senior who sits across from me, he's got a crowd around him, crowd of developers. I worked at an insurance company in IT, and they are celebrating that he just hit 1,000 days on his countdown timer from when he was going to retire. And I get choked up every time I think about this, because I think about the fact that somebody would press a button to give up 3 years of their life because they are so miserable in what they're doing. Those 3 years would cost me the first 3 years of my children's life. From then I knew, I was like, this is not going to be the way I'm going to do it. I knew something had to change. And the reason I tell you this is because forever, I did not think there was a way out. I thought it was impossible to get out. I thought you had to be absolutely brilliant, invent some sort of app, or just be lucky, or you did have to work 40 years, get a retirement, a 401k. So I'll bring you up to speed of, I guess, who I am now. If you want to go to the next slide, I told you I should have had the clicker. So this is my wife, Emily, 3 children. Thomas, he's at football right now, just dropped him off, typically coaching. Lyndon and Patrick. Been married for 11 years, currently own about 3,000, just closed on 300 doors last Friday, 3,000 rental doors throughout the Midwest. I did not start that way. As you heard earlier, am partners on a lending company with Owen Dashner. We have about $25 million of borrowing base. We've done over 400 loans and started a property management company, Bricktown Management, which is now merged into another property management company, Point Guard. So it's been a really incredible journey. Once again, this is about 8 years, 7.5 years or so, which is really crazy how quickly time flies by in this whole industry. Go ahead. You don't let your fears chase you, you chase them. So I heard this, and I think Twister's a super corny movie, but I also thought it was really funny. It's so simple, and I even come across these things today of not wanting to do things. This event, for instance, is one of those, and I don't mean that I don't want to do it. I mean that I have a propensity to get incredibly nervous when doing public speaking. This is not high up on my list. Everybody's number one fear next to death, and it's actually higher than death, is public speaking. Thank you. But what I have found out is that if you don't chase your fears and you don't go after them, you ain't gonna get shit. Like, you literally have to find the things that scare you enough and go chase them and push forward. There is no other options. Next slide, please. Mindset. Once again, guys, I'm going to start off with some of these slides. I promise I'm going to have a lot of tactical things that everybody can take away, that you can utilize in deals that you have and how you run your operations, et cetera. But these are some key critical pieces, and I did not know what mindset was. Once again, I was an only child, grew up in Bellevue, New Mexico. Activities did not include talking about investing. Let's put it kindly. I can go into some deeper stories there. There is so much garbage in between our minds when we wake up every morning that we don't even realize it. We are wasting time every day thinking about the things that don't really matter. Having a goal is incredibly important. How many people here, one, have a goal? Any goal? Everybody should raise their hand. Everybody's got a goal. Now, second, how many people write down their goals? That's awesome. And once again, as hokey as this sounds, the more you repeat these things, the more into reality these things become. You know, when I first started, I had no idea about any of these things. But what I did know is that there are people less intelligent than me that have had a rougher upbringing than me that have become more successful than me. I think we all can say that for everybody out there. And so what I realized is, what is the missing element? It's the effort. It's the effort that I'm putting in. So my challenge to everybody, and the challenge I continue to challenge to myself, is every morning, self-educating, finding new topics to listen to. The items, everybody here on Bigger Pockets, I know it's kind of gone through a little tumultuation. Everybody here on Bigger Pockets? Everybody know what Bigger Pockets is? Okay. Listening to podcasts and becoming an avid reader. It's one of those. How many people here have read a book in the past month? And that makes sense why everybody is here in this room. It counts. It kind of counts. If you can say that it creates the same thing or the same results, then I would say yes. But what I found is it's all too often that people are asking, you know, just me or other investors, how do you do it? What's a good deal? Tell me how to underwrite it. First off, what are you thinking right now? Are you thinking about your next steps? And do you understand what you're actually doing with the next 24 hours? And if you can't answer those questions, and some days I can't, guys, so trust me, some days it's a complete blur and a mess. But the days that I'm most successful is when I have a plan, when I put it together, and when I am clear thinking throughout the entire process. Next slide, please. So this brings up power of visualization. Once again, I promise I'm not a guru for this stuff. I'm just reflecting on the items that have led me to where I am and the things that I did at the beginning of my process that have led me to this point. Okay, so what did I want when I started? I wanted time freedom. I wanted to be around my family. I did not want to have anybody tell me what to do, and I wanted to have financial success. In that order. It's never been about the money, and I think everybody here realizes that. You think it's about the money, but really the money is to get out of your job or whatever your initial obligation is. So I set out these goals, and it's funny because I would drive my wife nuts and kids because I would just play Bigger Pockets and podcasts all the time. We went nowhere. There was nothing playing on the radio. Yes, radio inside the house, meaning the TV was just playing Bigger Pockets episodes. And that was for an entire year straight. And I said, the reason is because I'm going to be on that in a year from now. And guess what? I got on the show. I believed in that I was going to be on it. So initially, back to the 1,000-day countdown timer, my boss telling me that there's no time off of work, me just having a 28-year-old midlife crisis, I was like, okay, what's going to constitute success? Because I need to do things differently in this phase. I'd always just gone to a job, and my focus was, how do I get a promotion? How do I get a promotion? How do I get a promotion? With no real end goal in mind for my actual life. My 1-year goal was to be able to quit my job. And February 8th, 2018, I did quit my job. My 3-year goal was to be able to take a vacation and work the entire time. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I wanted to be able to have a business that I didn't have to physically be there. Maybe I should have set the goal higher and the fact that, the business would be self-sustaining, but I also just wanted to set realistic expectations of how big I wanted to get the business. Year 5, the goal was I want to take a vacation and not be tied to my phone. And I can happily say that every single one of those happened. Year 3, I had taken a trip to China and was up every hour and a half on my phone for 2 hours. So the year 3 visualization came true. Next slide. So this is also part of it as well. And this is not to say, hey, look at how many units I have, which does not matter, guys. That's not the most important question. The most important question is, do you have time freedom? Everything should be subordinate from there. So just anytime somebody's super proud of their units, this is more to showcase the fact that that first year, April to June of 2018, it's barely a blip on the timeline. It's almost a rounding error. However, I would argue that 95% of my base of what I built occurred during that period. And that was through disciplinary actions, and I'll go through this later. I later recognized it's basically a 4-step process that I utilized in the first month of doing this that was able to lead me to the results that then allowed me to get the expertise and surround myself with individuals that I could, once again, have thousands of rental units. Next slide. Okay, so this is a good story. And the reason why I put this there and put this right after my timeline of having thousands of doors is this was the Monday after I quit my job. And almost applied back to my job. This building in Blackstone area, right across from Joslin's Castle, that we had just purchased, I was managing it, came to realize it was infested with bed bugs. I didn't know what bed bugs were. I just didn't. But I quickly realized what all that black soot was on the mattresses, on the ceilings, crawling all over me as soon as I came home. So, as any good budding entrepreneur, I said, I'm going to get rid of these things myself. So, I went down to all the different pest supply stores. I got all the chemicals. I was looking, hey, I've got to spend $3,000 to hire a company or $45 of chemicals and a Monday, and I'm going to get rid of these things myself. And $20 for the gas mask. So, I did that. And, that's not even the funny part because, I'm sitting there jamming Slipknot, hazmat suit, going through, spraying down bed bugs, probably a 6-hour process. Has anybody here sprayed for bed bugs in a building before? Okay. You understand it's not like when the pest control guy comes in your house and he's just kind of like this. 30 seconds later, he's gone. Every single crevice and crack of fabric, of joints misplaced, everything needs to have that in there because the eggs are so strong and resilient that if you're not getting the chemicals there, they're going to fester on forever and it becomes a repeatable process. And you have to do this 4 to 6 times. So this is a very long process in a 7-unit building. But as I'm going through it, I go down to the basement and I hear water running. So we had a Nepalese family living there. It was, I don't know, between 5 and 35 people in one unit. I'm not sure. We had just taken this building over. And I hear water running, and I look around the corner, and I hear some kids laughing, or what I thought was children, but I hear laughter, and they are bathing in a 5-gallon bucket. So not to try to scare the children, I walk off. I'm like, I'm going to go finish my things. I'm going to come back in an hour, make sure the water's off. Well, I come back an hour later, water's still running. I still hear it down there. Except this time, the children had turned around. They were 40-year-old pygmy women that were bathing in a bucket. And this was my first day out of my W-2. ladies and gentlemen, spraying for bed bugs, telling people not to bathe in a bucket in the basement. So this brings me back to, this would maybe cause a lot of people to want to quit and to just call in the towel or throw in the towel. You have to see the longer vision in these things. Next slide. Back to harder things, and I can send anybody a copy of this later. How many people have, on their first takes, as an investor or wanting to be an investor, reach out to a broker and say, hey, I'm looking for a 7.5 cap property, 10% cash on cash, and the broker laughs at you? Or you go to investor events and you ask for those things, just in general. Well, that was my everyday occurrence. I was calling every broker, except for Colton. Where are you at back there? Colton got me my first deal. Thanks, brother. And I was getting laughed at. I remember one broker said, he was like, everybody's looking for what you want, and they, 1, have a lot more money, and 2, have a lot more experience, and 3, I don't know who the hell you are. I was like, well, this sucks, but I really want to get out of my job. Like, what am I going to do? I was like, I guess I'm just going to do it myself. So I started looking up online, found a company called listsource.com. ListSource, you can comb the internet. There's a bunch of these sites now. Found a bunch of multifamily owners that lived within 3 zip codes of my work, because I wanted to make sure that I could still, this was why I was still at my job, be able to service the properties. Had owned the properties for a few years, so they had some equity. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to pay one of these letter campaigns to do it. I'm just going to frickin' do it myself, because the last thing I want to tell my wife is I spent $1,000, which is a mortgage payment, to start another harebrained idea. Once again, I did not prove anything at this point. This was all just in my head, circling in my living room, telling my wife I'm going to be a big real estate investor someday and how great the Burr process is. So it was a very simple letter, told the truth in it. I said, I'm looking for properties. I'm not an agent. And do you want to jump on the phone? I got 13 calls in a week. That next Monday, when I had sent it out, I had 7 phone calls that day. Guys are calling me like, how the hell did you get my number? I'm like, sir, it's nice to talk to you. And just trying to get a conversation going. I ended up getting 6 deals out of this letter from those 191 letters. And it's not so much the results of that letter campaign. I think it's more of what it taught me of like, do the things that nobody wants to do, and you'll get the results that nobody else is going to get, or that are not typical. And that's what I found with this. I did not know what I was doing. I did not know how to write a contract, attorney process. I created my own operating agreement online. Don't recommend, get an attorney, but whatever. So yeah, I thought that was a good story and kind of reinforces the fact that hard work and just thinking outside of the box, but also being very much understand who your target audience is. So many people are looking for this big marketing trick. A group of people, we're fairly dumb when we're in groups. Like, we see something happening and we just kind of let it go. But as an individual, when you see something, you actually notice it. You notice these little idiosyncrasies between conversations. You know if somebody's lying to you. You know if somebody's true intent is. So I think going back to like what personal relations are and actually making an intent to create those relations, and this goes with everything, not just with sellers, off-market deals. This goes with every single person that you meet, is so critical, and it's so lost today. Next slide. Meetup groups. So, are you playing a video here? I can't remember. Maybe? All right. No sound. Anyway, so I was mentioning earlier, I started a meetup group, and the meetup group was not for any, it was for 2 reasons. One, my current network of people did not give a shit about anything past Friday. Sorry, I said I was going to curse once, and it's like 4 times. You guys can keep a tally. So there's that. I had nobody to relate with. I'm like, there's got to be other people interested in this. So I went to a meetup group, which was the former REIA, which was this one, once again, kicks ass. And not to throw shade at it, but it was in an elementary school gymnasium where they served cold coffee and cookies. It was a little depressing, and I was looking for a little energy. I was like, is there a cocktail? Is there anybody allowed to speak out of turn? Can we actually put some practicality together? And once again, thank you, Ted, for doing that. So I said, well, I'm already on this journey of doing whatever, so let's start a meetup group. So I posted on Facebook. I had just gotten a fourplex under contract or purchase, and I was like, who wants to come have a six-pack and meet up and talk about real estate? Well, that was 13 people. Next one was 30. Next one was 50. And it's been about 7 years going. We've been doing the meetup group. So my point is not to talk about the meetup group I started, is to talk about the meetup groups that every individual here can start. It doesn't have to be a big event. It can be a Sunday walk. It could be breakfast. It could be some sort of recurring activity that you find a group of like-minded individuals that some are smarter, some are more experienced, less experienced than you, that you can share and network with to help bring each other up. Because I'll tell you what, this business gets really difficult, and if you don't have other individuals to bounce ideas off of, you're gonna struggle. So I challenge this for everybody in here. If you are serious about this business, you should be involved in some sort of group and some sort of faction. The fact that you are coming here is amazing, but even doing more than that, where you can be the lead or help lead that, it provides a little bit additional ownership to you, meaning you have to show up. You can't make any excuses. You have to show up. But it also it's fun. You see the benefits of it. Ted can talk about it. I can talk about it from the meetup I started. There are millions and millions of dollars that have been made and deals that have been done and relationships that have been had because of those events. So this is not to say look at the meetup, but look at those possibilities of micro meetups or networking that you can do within each other. So next slide. So these next two slides, I'm going to go through pretty quickly. I just wanted to give some substance and just some thought for people looking to get into partnerships, some things to consider both by yourself and the other individual. Understand each other's goals. So I've jumped into a ton of partnerships and been like, yes, it's a deal. Let's sign the docs. Let's send over the money. And all of a sudden I'm like, your goal is done. Like, you already finished everything you want to do. And now, the buck lies with me to finish it. So understand each other's goals. Do they want to work on this project? Do they not want to work on this project? Do they want to be passive? Do they not want to be passive? If the individual you are partnering with does want to be passive, so for instance, here's a great example that I think people come across all the time. All right, partner A has the money. Partner B has the wherewithal, the deal, and wants to do the work. Oftentimes what happens is, okay, partner A, you bring in your money, I'll do all the work. At the refinance, you get all your money back, and I'll continue doing all the work. I promise you that is not a good way to do things. And the reason is partner B is going to work until infinity. And there is money everywhere. They could have borrowed from a hard money lender and owned the project themselves. There's numerous different ways. My suggestion for that partner B, the person doing the work, and this is what I did when I started a property management company. I charged a fee, just like any property manager does, to run the project. So that way there's no finger pointing. If work is not done, the property's not leased, there's one person to point the finger at. It's me, and I'm getting compensated for it. There always has to be one person in charge of each lane. That's fine if there's collaboration, but I've seen this happen quite a few times. There's no more slides there. Understand what each other's, I'm going back to this goal is, but on how big they want to get this thing, and if this really needs to be a partnership, or you should start off with the end in mind. So what I mean by that is, there's some projects that somebody wants to get into real estate, they see a good opportunity, and they're like, oh, I've seen you've been doing a great job. So say you've done, 50 flips, and they're going to be your capital partner. Be wary of setting up a forever partnership, when you can do them off as one-offs. Always talk about what it's going to look like if this doesn't work out forever. Does that make sense? How many people here have partners? Any people have bad partner stories? Okay, cool. I just think it's really important to have those honest questions on the front end. Know your strengths and weaknesses. I suck at a lot of things. My inbox is full of emails. I'm really good at seeing value. I'm really good at understanding value in people, putting things together. But I'm not going to be the task guy. I'm terrible at that. I can be boots on the ground for a lot of things. But if you want me replying to an email, setting up meetings with attorneys, reviewing docs, that's not me. Not a freaking chance. Here's something, because this does occur. Because as you grow into this industry and the size of the project, you might be asking your mom to invest in this project. And you're asking her to invest because you're going to give her a sizable return. But your partner needs to realize, and you need to make sure that you understand that would you trust your partner with your mom's retirement? Because that's basically what you're doing. And you need to ask that question. So some key roles are, financing, or do they have, a capital background? Are they doing the acquisitions? Meaning, are they the ones out there bird dogging, finding the projects? Are they doing the management? That's how I started my career. I started in management because I knew it was essential. There could be any downturn, whatever. There would always be a job in management. And then asset management, which I'll get into. All right. Going to run through these really quickly. Creative financing options. HELOC, home equity line of credit. Everybody's had a large equity increase on their homes. You can pull out a second position loan, mortgage, that will allow you to utilize the equity in your house to invest in real estate. That's how I started. I didn't start with any money out of my own pocket. It was a HELOC. Hard money lender, I know a great one. Talk to Owen. Acquisition fees, I'll talk about that in a minute. I have a case example. Utilizing assigned insurance funds. So I'll talk about this just real quick. If you are purchasing a property and you think there's roof damage, but the seller doesn't want to replace the roof, you can have them, not in all cases, and I'd be looking at Marty back there. You could explain it better than I could. They can open up a claim and then assign you the claim that you can have past closing and gain those funds and take those funds to apply for your down payment or fix the roof. Sorry, I was going off the list. Dennis, you got me. Otherwise, we can skip slides. I've got a really bad Dennis impression if you guys want me to do it. Because I actually think the next one's a video, so I can't mimic the video. How many people here have bought a deal in the past month? How many people have refinanced, cash out refinanced in the past month? 6 months? Okay, just a couple. Man, 2 years ago, everybody's hand would have been up. Let's move to the next slide. All right, so business plan here. I'm just going to jump to the video and I can talk through this. So this is a project we just closed on. This is one we just closed on Friday. So it's really important, no matter the size of the project, that you have a business plan for it. For us, we hire a company to do these cool videos. I know, it's pretty sweet, right? Jason, it's in the Dropbox. You have to open up your computer. So some of the key things are to know your market and also what your actual business plan is. So we are value-add investors. So we find a project that is under-rented, under-marketed, under-capitalized. We go in, we improve the property to basically match the market, match the higher end of the market. And I'm going to kind of talk through this. Please feel to watch to watch it. I just want to be mindful of time. So some of the things that we're always mindful of, and what we're always doing with our projects is looking for different value add opportunities. So the obvious one is market rent. So say you have a classic unit, you know, Formica countertops, carpet throughout. There's no real upgrades to the common areas. They're renting at $9.95. Our goal is to rent it at $11.95, $12.95. Whatever that number is, we're gaining that from either our internal property management company or another property management company to give us those market rents. So that's going to let us know our delta on it. RUBS, ratio utility bill-back system. So this property is a prime example. They do not bill back for utilities currently. That means that all the residents' gas, electricity, water, sewer is just lumped into their rent. And so there's two problems with this. And you can, I'll go through a couple solutions, because in the end, it's the net same amount that they're going to be paying when you do a bill back versus if you just added it to the rent. But here's an example. Some people try to roll it into the rent and they'll say rent $650 and I'm gonna put $850 on there, but I'm gonna market it at $850. Well, all of a sudden you've priced it at a higher rent amount than your competitor that actually does have their residents pay for their own utilities. So you could be marketing at $695 and then charge back for the utilities. So here's some of the different, okay, so, sorry, whatever. Sorry, you threw me off back there, Denlis. I'm not gonna blame you. Cable and internet charges. So this is becoming a lot more popular. You can either get contracts locally with like Cox or anybody that for, if you have like a 20 unit apartment building, you can sign a service agreement with Cox for $30 for cable internet, and you can increase the charge to $60. Now, why this is beneficial and why you're not a bad landlord for doing that is because if the individual residents were to go out there on their own, they'd be spending $95. So basically what you're doing is packaging the product together and catching the delta on top of that. Now, why that's important is it's not just $30 a unit that you're gaining. It's based on a cap rate. So if you're looking at $30 times 20 unit, that's 600. It's a let's see if I can do this math in my head, 600, 7,200. If that's a 5 cap, which is not realistic, but say it's a 5 cap, that's $144,000 in value add if you have a 20 unit property just by doing a $30 bill back on a service that their residents would need anyways. So just think of that. Like, that's how we look at this. This is a business that's being valued on multiples. Pet fees are a big one, as well as laundry fees. All right, next slide. Okay, so this is where we're located. Just wanted to point that out because the next slides are going to go into a bit of operational details, so we can jump ahead. Asset management. So how many people here, I feel this is often like overlooked, especially on like kind of small scale real estate. How many people know the difference between asset management and property management? Everybody familiar? Okay, so the difference is, so I can define it, property management is the actual doers, the ones that are taking care of the property itself. They're doing leasing, they're handling maintenance requests. The asset manager is working on behalf of the owner to facilitate and make sure that the business plan is getting executed at a property management level. Why this is important: if you just hand over a property to a property management company, give them no direction, my assumption is they're going to look at, you know, there's a lease that comes up 30 days out, residents paying $495. They will probably send a lease renewal for $515. That's what they do. It's a 3 to 5% year over year increase. They're going to try to keep that resident in and keep them housed and keep collecting rent, handle the maintenance issues. If you do not have an asset manager, or if you're not asset managing the property, what the property manager may not realize is that the market rent should be $895, and your plan is to go in there and renovate the apartment. So there's some key distinguishments. And so that's why at the beginning, we are all asset managers. I still asset manage a lot, meaning I am talking to the property management company, telling them our business plan so that they understand it's okay to have some vacancy because what we're going to do is we're going to turn these units, we're going to add quartz countertops, we're going to do stainless steel, we're going to do LVP to increase the value, because our goal is to move the entire class of this property from a C level to a B level asset. So it's a really important distinguishment between just, and I think that's why a lot of people fail or get frustrated with property management. And trust me, I get frustrated with property management still every day, and I feel like I communicate well. But if you are not there being the liaison for what your wishes are on that asset, and you're letting the property manager just go as normal everyday business, you're going to be missing out on things. There's going to be some disconnect there. Next slide, please. Property management, ain't nothing to it but to do it. So when I started, I just kept thinking, I was like, how do I not fail at this? Like, how do I find like a backup plan? Like, if I screw this up, like, I'm just quitting my job, you know, young kids at home. I was like, you know what? I keep hearing everybody hates property management and talks about it's the most important thing, but nobody wants to do it. So I said, well, I don't know. I've got a lot of energy and just not a lot of wherewithal, so might as well go be a property manager. So that's exactly what I did. And there's, you know, four main reasons. There's multiple main reasons why I did that. Is there another slide after this? If not, that's all good. No, but some of the reasons why you want to property manage. So I would encourage everybody, at least at one point in their life, to manage their own property. Just at one point. Hand it off at some point. I get it. But some of the biggest benefits is, one, you have full control, which you speed up the time of things. Time in this business is the biggest killer. Every day you're paying interest. Every day you're that much closer to a cleaning fee, to having the lawn mowed, et cetera. So the faster you can speed up these processes, the more successful you'll be. You'll save money. That's very simple. You're going to cut out the middleman. You're going to be able to not have the additional charges that these companies charge. This is probably one of the most important things. You're going to be able to learn the actual business, so you actually know how to direct the property manager. So I can't overstate that enough. Even if it's a duplex, manage it for a couple months. Just fully encompass all the amazing calls and broken toilets and fires and floods and sewage backups. You'll just get a lot out of it. And lastly, you can act fast, being your own property manager. So this, here we can go on. Next slide, next slide. Okay, so this will be basically the last one. So this is a case study that has kind of 7 key components to it. So, excuse me. So Owen Dashner actually brought me this project. It was 24 townhomes in Papillion, $1.7 million. We had a $300,000 construction loan. Let's move to the next slide so I can go to each variable. So the key piece to this, and I'm going to bring it all together, is there are 4 partners involved in this. One of them found the deal. That was their value add component. Capital, there was an individual that brought the capital. 3, a person that was able to put together the creative structure. And then the 4th partner was the one that could handle operations. All right, next slide. So deal sourcing, you know, and I'd like to bring Owen up here, but Owen found this deal off market. Owen, do you remember how you found this deal, Cortez?
Good friend of mine, mentor, knew I was getting a multifamily. Every deal he ever brought me, I bought. And he brought me this deal because I know he knows a good deal. So he brought me, for anybody that didn't hear me, good friend of mine, he a longtime multifamily investor. He called me one day, and prior to that, every time he called me and said, "This is a good deal. I don't have time to mess with it. You should buy it." I'm like, done. I figured out a way. So I figured out a way to buy the previous deals that he had brought to me, and he brought this one. And I'll let you tell the rest of the story, but I had kind of a mild panic attack, in trying to manage a gigantic rehab with in a property that was located way away from my house and all that fun stuff. So enter you into the picture.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. So Owen calls me as usual. He's a hyped up dude. He's fired up. He's like, man, I've got this great deal, but I just don't know what to do with it, you know. And Owen's a solopreneur, basically through and through. Just recently, he's been partnering with people, so he's never partnered with anybody. So this was like breaking the seal. He's like, what do you want to partner on this? I'm like, yeah, but I've got a partner too. He's like, oh shit, now I'm down to 33%. And he's like, where are we getting the money? I don't have the money for this. I'm like, hold on, big guy. Let's just think about this, like what our net result is going to be.
I think you're taking some creative liberties here, but we'll
well,
let
that's
you
why I
ahead.
have the
You got
mic.
Hey, you got
That's
the show. I'll turn my mic off.
That's why I have the mic. No, and I know time's running, so I'm not going to spend too long on this. But basically, I was like, okay, well, I have a partner, and he brings a lot of value as well, Chris Pomerleau. There's a lot of different things he can do, putting the deal together, finding banks, etc. But then there was two big pieces, or one big piece. Okay, it's $1.7 million. Well, part of the story is, so side note, we typically give two offers to our sellers. One of them being the right priced offer. So for that, it was 1.6 million or 1.65. 1.6 million, we'll buy it normal. We'll buy it, we'll bank finance it. The other offer was 1.7 million while you carry $200,000 of the note as a promissory note at 6% interest. They're like, that's perfect. We want to make another $100,000. Sure, we'll lend you $200,000 and we'll have second position lien on the property. Okay, so now we're halfway there. You know, we need 20% down for a $2 million project, so we need $400,000. Well, we found a fourth partner, who shall remain nameless, to bring the other $200,000 as a loan for the project. So now, although Owen didn't have 100% control of the deal, he now brought a deal, had to bring $0, and what's even better, I don't know if it's the next slide, we were able to add an acquisition fee to the closing. And why do you add an acquisition fee? It's because there's work that's involved with these projects, putting it together. There's just cost and time that's associated with it, so you should be compensated for it. So we were all paid acquisition fees from the bank at closing from this deal. Next part of it is everybody's familiar with the BRRRR strategy. So we closed on the deal, $0. We actually got paid at closing. We bought it. We rehabbed it. So this took about a year-long process. Rents originally were $695. These are townhomes in Papillion. They now rent for $1495, some of them even more. So our original NOI was about $100,000. That's if it was full at purchase. It was not even close to that. So the building, I think, was worth $1 million, and we paid 1.7 for it. So, guys, when you look at your underwriting, I understand you have to buy on actuals, but you also have to understand intrinsic value when you're doing these things. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on a lot of deals. And if you're looking at a property, the owners, it was a doctor and an accountant, and they were doing all the work themselves. They had their daughter living there, and it was a complete mess. They weren't running the operation correctly, hence why it was not worth a lot. So technically, we overpaid. It was worth $1 million. We paid 1.7. However, after a year and a half, we increased the NOI to $245,000, and we were able to refinance it at $3.7 million. So we were able to get a large cash-out refinance, better debt terms, and one of the last pieces that's often not talked about is a cost segregation study. Are there cost seg experts in here? Are there tax experts? Ted, did you have show up? Besides. Okay, gotcha. Basically, a cost segregation study, just forced depreciation or accelerated depreciation, speeds up the depreciation on a property so you could take it all in year one. Not all of it, but a large sum of funds in year one. So instead of showing a net gain, we showed about a $320,000 write-off net loss in year one, which then carries over, unless you're a real estate professional and you can apply that to the entirety of your income. So those are kind of some of the key pieces with it. There's deal sourcing, creative financing, investor loans. So this is something that you should apply to all your projects. Acquisition fees, obviously the BRRRR strategy, and the cost segregation study. Cost segregation studies are typically most useful on projects over $1 million because you have to pay for them. Next slide, and then we are almost done, and then it's going to be Jason. And Jason, I promise you, is a much better speaker than I am. So I wanted to bring this up. These 4 steps, I didn't even realize this until probably 6 months ago, are, if you do this process for 30 days, you will be a different person. It's hard. I've only done it once. It's a pain in the ass. It takes every second and control of everything. You can't get distracted with Facebook. You can't just get distracted with life, TV, etc. First one, which is the simplest, is wake up and choose and control your mindset. So what I would do every day is I would put in a book, I would start reading, I would do something the second I woke up to get rid of that bullcrap noise in your head that says, today I'm just gonna go to work and I'm gonna forget about my dreams, or I'm gonna forget about what I need to do. No, I'd put something in my head that said the opposite, or I'd listen to a motivational story, I'd be like, well, that guy did it, I can do it. So that's the first thing. And there's so many times where I was on the verge of quitting and I would just hear some random guy who got successful. I was like, that freaking guy can do it. And he's got a lisp. I can do it. Anyways, sorry if anybody has a lisp. I'm 5'6". Yeah, there's plenty to make fun of me about. 5'6" might be pushing it too. Physical activity. So this is also crucial, and it's important to do it early on in the day. And it's fine if you work out at night too, but you should do something physical in the morning because it's an absolute, there's numerous studies, it's a cleansing of your mind. But also if you don't work out in the morning, lots of your day is gonna be consumed about thinking about working out, which is then wasted space. So think about that. The things that you are planning on doing that you kind of like don't want to do, but you need to do, it's just gonna consume space in your head when you could be using that space for something else. Number 3, every day a new challenge. So specifically to real estate, I had a journal and I would do something new every day that was associated with real estate. Every day, something new. I'd find something new. I'd call an off-market seller. I'd find a for rent sign and say, hey, do you want to sell me your property? I'd call a lender. I'd analyze a deal. I would do all these things. And 4th, every new activity, I would add on top of it and do it every day. So if it was day 1 and it's like, call a broker. Well, at day 30, I've called 30 brokers. Day 2, it's like, hey, I'm gonna analyze the deal. Well, day 2 through 30, I'm analyzing deals. And I would continue to stack these and repeat those on top of each other. And what I didn't realize, and what I realize now, is that somebody that does the same thing every day is considered disciplined. If you do the same thing over and over, if you pick up the phone and you're calling sellers every day, you're disciplined. You're one of the top. But if you can stack this over a 30-day period, you've done 465 things. That means 465 actions towards your goal. That's basically like a year and a half worth of items, more than the disciplined person accomplishes. Once again, it's not easy, but it's possible if you have a plan. I promise you, those first 30 days that I started doing this, I wanted so bad to change my life that it was able to make just such a large distinguishment that I could have screwed up for the next 6 months, but I put so much in motion from that initial period that I had enough momentum to push through. Jaden told me to do this, but I do have this written down. I've got a 30-day challenge. Thought it was a little goofy, but anyways, if you guys are interested, I have all the different items for a real estate individual that is interested. Also, if you're interested, I can send you my letter. Just let me know. I can send you whatever. I'm an open book, whatever you guys want. Just happy to help. I'll let you guys scan that if you're interested. All right, this is my favorite quote. I listen to this book, Shoe Dog, probably 4 times a year. It's Phil Knight. It's over when he was, I think, being sued by U.S. Customs for $25 million. His company's going under, and this is Nike. So Nike basically was about to not start. And he would repeat this quote to himself, and it was, "The cowards never started, the weak died along the way, and that leaves us." And what that means is the cowards are the ones that never showed up. The weak died along the way, or the ones that give up during the hard times, and that leaves us, everybody that's sitting in this room. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you guys. All right, guys. Now you're going to have somebody way more entertaining, and I fucking love it. Guys, I love this guy so much. Jason Belt. He has a plethora of experience, capabilities, and is honestly a savant, and can deadlift about 1,000 pounds. So without further ado, Jason Belt.
Did you guys do the movie Twins?
What was that? What was that?
I didn't know if you guys did the movie Twins together when you guys.
That might be my favorite thing that I'm taking from this whole night. First things first, when Collin asked if we had read a book recently, in all honesty, the last book I read was Bluey Goes to Kindergarten. So I'm maybe fudging the numbers a little bit, but Clint, you look a lot more cleaned up in this picture. My goodness, where are the sideburns here? There you go. There you go. So, trust me, I get it. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I need to be able to see my slideshow. Is the critical thing here. I'm going to abbreviate the presentation so you guys I don't inundate you guys with a bunch of goofy things. But I want you guys to take a good hard look at these 6 images. And I want you to try, just for the next 15 seconds, to build in your mind what these things could potentially have in common. I mean, the Camaro and the Council Bluffs one are pretty easy to draw that linkage, I'm sure. But I want you to picture that the year is 2006. I would have been 16 years old. I had rebuilt the motor in that IROC Camaro. I drove an 88 Camaro. And there was a Prince Purple Rain soundtrack stuck in the tape deck. And I am a child of that music, but again, it's 2006. Born and raised in Council Bluffs. I am fishing in the wrong dang pond, I can tell you that, right? Can you imagine a 16-year-old trying to go on a date in Council Bluffs? There's only like 3 eligible candidates anyway. They have a full set of teeth. And
Chris Pomalu being one of those, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Chris might be good looking, but I don't always bat that way. And bearing that in mind, the thing I want to call to attention tonight is you guys could have the right fishing rod, the right area, and the totally wrong bait. Okay? What we're talking about is what tools do you currently have, and how are you leveraging those tools to your benefit? Because at the end of the day, what I do is I raise capital, and there's really just 2 ways to do that. And you oscillate, or you transition between these 2 ways. There's relationship-based conversations where you establish trust and you build on that trust. And then there's deal-based selling, or what I would call transactional selling. And that transactional selling is more about volume and just hitting people over the head. Everything is a nail and you're the hammer sort of experience. So we're going to talk about just quickly the differences therein. But I want you guys to know who it is that you are and own those things. Now, it might be obvious why I selected a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I promise you it's not. Has anybody seen True Lies recently? I watched it this week, actually, in preparation for this. Jamie Lee Curtis was a crush of mine as a young child. But True Lies, I want you to think about that. Has anybody seen the Arnold documentary on Netflix? Okay, no? Okay. There are so many of you that if there's a call to action tonight, other than to invest with me in Leavenwealth, it is to go and watch that documentary. Case in point, Arnold Schwarzenegger is seen at face value so often as this, and you might see some common threads here, as this muscular meathead who doesn't really have a whole lot of other things to offer the world. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a multi-millionaire in real estate before he ever stepped foot in Hollywood. And that's what people don't realize, is that this man was a genius that overcame a lot to get to that point. So every day, each and every one of you fights some level of misconception, whether it's being a strong, empowered female in the workplace, whether it's not having a full head of hair and being taken as a credible, viable resource of information, or whether it's having lamb chops on the side of your face. So we all fight these misconceptions every day. So know who it is that you are and own that. Lean into it. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. We'll just blow past this. It's not really all that important. I've raised $40 million in the last 3 years. I guess we can go back really quick. That's the video that Collin was referencing earlier. You can see that the bicep on the left side is blown out completely at that point. I'm dumb enough to finish the lift. It happened to be 10 days before my wedding, and my wife was pissed, which is a constant battle that we undergo. But you might see a new viral video. I'm gearing up for Nebraska's Strongest Man here in about 10 days. So if you see a new video of me, it's chances are I'm hurt and I'm in the hospital, so send some chocolate and well wishes. But we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Really, Collin hit on this. The things that you need to be successful in real estate, you guys probably already have, right? If there's things that I think about, the things that hit me when I'm driving between Lincoln or Kearney when I'm going to have these goofy investor conversations, or I'm helping them log into their investor profile because they don't know how to work a computer, and that's absolutely happened. I've driven 3 hours to make that happen. Each one of us has within us the tools and capabilities to do anything it is that we want. It's just a matter of stepping outside of that comfort zone to make it happen. Case in point, that nerdy kid that was listening to Purple Rain in 2006, that didn't bode well for college either. Okay, I just stepped far outside of my comfort zone. I remember getting a damn script of Zoloft so I could go sell pharmaceuticals because I was such an introvert, right? And here I am, owning the microphone, and I public speak in front of groups of thousands of individuals on a regular basis. It is a matter, Collin said it best, there are things that we can and can't control. One of them, time might be the killer of all things, but guess what you can control? Where you spend your time. And if we listen to any of these adages, the reason that Collin talks about listening to podcasts or reading these books, it is a matter of where we invest our time. So the more time that you invest with a particular subject, the better you become at it, okay? So that's something that we all can control. So if you want to get good at something, spend time doing it. If you want to be a good investor relations ambassador, spend time with your investors. It's not going to do you any good learning about a bunch of deal mechanics in financing if I can't relate to my investors. So spend time where that time is warranted most. Where you see strengths, lean into those strengths. Own who you are. Okay, so we're going to talk real briefly about the tools, the people, and the process. So we'll go ahead and go to the next. Again, I'm going to breeze through some of these things. Again, it's either relationship-based selling or it's volume-based selling. And when I talk about selling, I say that synonymously with being a consultant, because that's how I see myself to an investor. And the reason I say it that way is I've managed to raise capital for deals. The one question that was asked today at the bar, how are you raising capital in this environment today? And I'm not going to lie, the answer is pretty simple. I have the flexibility and freedom from my partners to change how it is that we're approaching some of these deals from an investor standpoint. I have the ability to go back to Collin and Chris and say, hey, I need to be able to extend parts of the B shares to big check writers. I need to be able to build groups of investors where I can give those B shares to them. I need to have some level of upside for them to continue to invest money with us. I have that freedom and flexibility to say that, but we also have the freedom and flexibility to look at how we finance deals creatively. Collin talked about seller-based financing on the last little bit. Collin also, one thing that we didn't necessarily touch on was assumable debt, When I have good sponsors that I can trust that find good deals, even in a tough market environment, that gives me the credibility to go out and with those relationships that I have and position those deals correctly, okay? So that is critical. Now, Collin said, maybe partners shouldn't be for life. That guy's stuck with me whether he likes it or not. And he can arm wrestle me if he thinks otherwise. So, bearing that in mind, a lot of the things that you need to raise capital, if that's something that you guys want to do, obviously you need a pitch deck. Obviously you need to understand the deal. You need to understand the financing of the deal. Who in here has raised capital before? Who in here wants to raise capital? Beautiful, Ted. Who is going to have to raise capital for their deals? Okay, see, there's a little bit of a deficit there. Some people are going to have to raise capital for their deals. Do you know raising capital for our deals is allowed? This is the change it's had in my life. So whether you think you're going to have to or not, it's important to understand the thought process and the resources. Raising capital has taken my net worth in the last 4 years and multiplied it by about 8. Okay, that's not a small number. 8x return on the time investment that I've made raising capital and what that's done to my ownership, not just in Leavenwealth, but the opportunities that it's created afterwards. Okay? So, at some point, it is going to be beneficial to understand how it works when you ask for money. And when I say whether or not you own the deal outright or whether or not you scale, I'm going to ask this question. What is more, owning 10% of the vineyard or 100% of the grapevine? And that's rhetorical, so don't feel under pressure to answer that. But I'm going to give you the answer. It's 10% of the vineyard, okay? So as we scale and we leverage our investors' capital to scale, one, they trust us because of the relationships that we've built, but two, they trust the fact that we're putting our own money into the deals. So those are the critical things that we've leveraged. So of course you need a pitch deck, and I can beat you guys over the head about what that looks like, but it's more important to understand the mechanics behind it. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to beat you over the head with these things. You want to be able to have the opportunity to talk about a pro forma. You need to have a good underwriter. I once had a person come to me and say, hey, I want you to raise $6 million, but I'm not a pro forma guy. What the hell does that mean? I'm not a pro forma guy. Okay, you might not be the pro forma guy, but you need to find a pro forma guy, because if you want somebody to give you money, you need to understand the implications of what that deal is. What does that mean? Okay, because in this environment where people like Brendan Turner are saying they can't find capital, guess what? We haven't slowed down not once. We're raising more capital now in this year and by the close of this year than we have in years past, and I can promise that. So understanding those mechanics are very, very, very important. You might not need to be a master of it, but at least understand it. Okay, so when it comes to tracking that, you also want to have I wasn't a numbers guy originally. I was a more write it down and kind of piecemeal things together. I had to become an Excel guy. I had to become a student of some of these other tracking systems. That's all that means. We don't have to worry about that right now, but we are going to go into some of the marketing that Collin said wasn't important. Okay? Marketing. What is marketing? Does anybody have a good answer for that real quick? Right off the top of their head? Don't make me call on people, because I will. What is marketing? What is an example of marketing? Yes, advertisement. What was the other one? Just do it is a good advertisement. Absolutely. A good motto. Something that people can relate to. What else is advertising? I'm stealing Steve's word here. Yes, establishing a brand. What does your brand say about you? Now, is Just Do It, is Nike, is that just a brand anymore, or is that a thought process for a lot of athletes? It's a thought process. It's a moniker I can buy into. It's something that defines me as an athlete. So, marketing, there's two ways to do it. There's the brute force effort, and what I mean when I say that, This is something that, again, you have to oscillate between the two of these. If your goal is to raise money, there's the volume play, which means I've scraped or bought email lists, and I'm just going to email 10,000 people. And I'm going to hope and pray. Now, there's some numbers that rule this, but if you have a 1% close rate on 10,000 people, that's generally pretty good. I can raise a decent amount of capital from that. But again, everybody is a nail, and I'm the hammer. So I'm broadcasting out a wide net is what I'm trying to do and catch these fish. And it's fish that are probably interested in what I'm doing. The more narrow or the better bait that I use, right, I can narrow down that search. So if I want to market just to doctors, okay, I can do that. I can buy an email list of just surgeon emails. Or I can buy a list of just accredited investors. That's one way of marketing. So you build a couple email lists or a drip campaign that sends out X number of emails over a course and period of time. If they're interested, they'll reach out to you. Again, about a 1 to 3% close rate is what's considered good. Or there's the grassroots effort where you build that brand association. So at least locally, when it comes to Leavenwealth, we have a really, really good brand. What is our brand? It's that BRRRR method that Collin talked about. It's buying, refinancing, giving back our investors their capital, and they continue to cash flow even though we've given them back their money, which everybody thinks is a Ponzi scheme, by the way. So everyone in this room knows the difference, which I love and appreciate, but everyone else thinks I'm Bernie Madoff when I try to position that to them. So that's the beautiful thing is you talk to the uninitiated and you build that relationship. You build and forge trust. You build your brand. You build that motto, that just do it, right? You build that in people's minds. You build a brand of success. And that's one thing that we've managed to do is we have that legacy of data to show to an investor, hey, here's what we've done over the last 7 years. Not only have we had success, because this is the beautiful thing, every investor and their dog, I'm talking with a big time investor in a group of potentially $100 million check writers over the next 700 days or so. That kind of money wants to know what you had for dinner last week, and they want to know the results of your colonoscopy, okay? It's that level of detail that you have to provide. And when you have those conversations, because I'm tracking those things, because I have a legacy of success, because that brand is established, I can say we've done X number of returns to our investors. We've handed out $13 million of write-offs in the last 2 years. Those are the kinds of things that you can then begin to say. So it becomes important to build the relationship based on that brand. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. And we've covered some of this real quickly. This is Midwest. This is one of example of some of the marketing efforts that we put together. When it comes to an investor, what do people want to see? And not just investors, what do you guys want to see? The things that I want to know from an operations standpoint when we're targeting a property, I want to know exactly what we're going to do, what methods and metrics we're going to track. What is the rent increase that we're going to make? What is that cable and internet, that $20 per door? What does that actually mean for the overall value of the property? Well, guess what? Across 328 units, that's exactly what it means. $1.3 million worth of value added to that property. So when you talk about forced appreciation, when you talk about what your plan is, that becomes important because when somebody sees that, that's powerful, right? When I can see that, hey, I'm going to invest $100,000 and our equity multiple is 3.6, that means something. So that goes back to the question at the bar. How are you raising capital in this environment? When you build that brand of success, when you have sound methodology, and when you respond to the market, you change what you're doing based on what's happening around you, that builds credibility with your investor base. That means that my investors are going to go tell their friends who are also of a high net wealth, hey, I trust these guys with my money, you should too. And that doesn't come because we're selling deals. That comes because we're honest, transparent, and forthcoming about what we're doing, and we choose to involve others. So when certain bigwig home builders come to me and say, I don't need other people's money. And they condescend to me about what it is that means. I don't, cool, I don't give a shit about your process. What I care about is engaging with people around me. What I care about is, do I care about making money? I do. But I care about bringing the people that understand what we're doing along with me. I care about building a regional presence of people or a group that understands what we're doing and wants to do it together. Because that's when you have power, is when you have a group of people that puts their resources together to take on big things, right? So, okay, we're gonna go ahead and go on the next slide. This basically just says when you're reaching out in marketing, you gotta reach out often, you gotta do it quite a bit. It takes people 7 to 8 times to hear the message. That's really what it says, so you kinda gotta beat people over the head. You can lead a horse to water, but then you kinda gotta drown a little. Okay, so let's go to the next. Other marketing things that I've built, these are one-pagers that Jaden, raise your hand in the back, our beautiful Jaden, she's helped us out tremendously. Marketing is important when you position it the right way. People don't want to read a 17-page booklet. They sometimes don't even want to go through a single-page slide deck. Single page, one. It's the shortest slide deck I can make. And I've had investors call me and be like, I don't want to read it. Just tell me what it is. Okay, all right. So go ahead and go to the next one. There's different ways to handle all of these. So when I say EL15 or ELI5, does anybody know what that means? Yes. Thank you. Somebody is a fellow Reddit user. Explain it to me like I'm 5. Okay? The biggest thing, other than watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, that I want you guys to be able to take from this, an intelligent person can take in a ton of information and process a ton of information. A wise person can spit that information out and articulate it to a Harvard scholar or to a 5-year-old child. That is the mark of wisdom, okay? Being able to take some super complex idea and boil it down to just the raw points is absolutely critical in real estate, because guess what? How many people have had issues getting loans or the loans at terms they want in the last year? Everybody should be raising their hand, because these bankers are driving everyone wild, right? How many of your bankers do what you do? Raise your hand. 0, absolutely. Clint's got it absolutely right. Because if they did, they'd be investing all the time with us, okay? You have to explain it to them like they're 5. That resource will serve you in perpetuity, forever, whether you're talking with an investor, a banker who you're trying to get financing through, or you're talking to somebody who's going to come and audit, somebody who's going to assess the value of your property. All of those things are critical. Okay, so let's go on to the next. This is just the schedule of how you send out your email campaigns. So let's just go to the next. This is the point I'll probably wrap up on and conclude on. Well, there's maybe 2 more. Don't forget that people are individuals, right? And individuals have wants and needs. Just because Susie complains about the fact that she drives a 4-year-old G-Wagon, and that's a very real problem to Susie, and I'm dealing with a 6-year-old who likes to bite other children, our problems in terms of gravity might seem different, but guess what? Susie's problem is just as real to her as mine is to me. And I hate saying that because I don't always feel that way, but it's true. Everyone has a set of wants and needs that they're navigating all the time. So whether it is an investor, whether it is a banker, whether it's somebody who's going to positively or negatively impact the outcome of your deal, those things you have to consider. So treating people like people is always going to be what governs success in this business. Always. What's the old Southern adage? I went to school at Arkansas, so no, it's not about kissing your cousin, Owen. It is, you catch more flies with honey than with what? Vinegar. Absolutely. And that's not a manipulation tactic. It's using the right bait. It's understanding, not using, it's understanding what people's wants and needs are and aligning with those people. Those are the people you want to work with, right? I don't want to deal with the investor who's going to call me every second day his money hasn't been ACH'd to his account because he doesn't understand we can't ACH on Labor Day, okay? That's not the kind of person I want to deal with. I want to deal with somebody who gets what we're doing. Okay, let's go on to the next. Okay, go ahead and, let's make all these pictures populate. Perfect, that should be about right. This is not the 6-year-old that likes to bite people. This is the 4-year-old who had his first t-ball game tonight. So this is Knox. This is Knox when he is about 8 months old in the first one. I want you to take note of the size of his mouth at every juncture here. I mean, the first thing's a donut. The second one is pizza sauce. The third, I think, is a bite of a raisin. And the last one there is a chip with dip on it. This little boy was so used to taking the largest bites possible because his brother would either steal his food or he just didn't know better. And I want you to think about the people that you bring along with you, whether or not they're investors, whether or not they're partners, whoever it is that you have in your circle right now. We are used to doing things a certain way, right? It's called inertia, right? We call it clinical inertia with surgeons and doctors because they're so used to doing things for the last 30 years that even though there's some new technology out there, I think of financial advisors. There are financial advisors that I've talked to that have no understanding of depreciation, and I have to explain to them depreciation schedules. And I'm like, have you not been doing this? He's, I've been doing this 45 years. Okay, well, have you read a book in the last 10? Right? We get used to doing what it is that we've been trained to do. So when people are doing things, they're doing them for a reason. It ties back to that previous slide. They're doing them because it fits their values or it fits their needs and wants. What we should be doing is educating or bringing people along with us, okay? So it's my job to educate this little boy that when he eats a grape out in public, if he's ever gonna get a date, because he's got a dad who didn't know how to do it when he was 16, I have to educate him how to eat in public and not make a fool of himself. That's my job. It's also our job to educate those around us in our circles, whether they work for us, whether it's a VA, whether it's Collin, that I have to sometimes talk to about the length at which he speaks and leaves for me at these speaking events. Sometimes we got to say it multiple times. The understanding is that if we bring people along with us, those people that help support us are, you build a network around you, like Collin said. Collin talked about how important that network is. And without people in this room, without the Owen Dashners, without the Ted Cashes, without Clint, without Collin, without these individuals in this room, without the Brad Parks that grind their ass off to make sure that we are able to effectively property manage, we're not up here, period. These conversations don't happen. It's kind of like the butterfly effect. When a butterfly flaps its wings, it's felt halfway across the world. Now, I don't actually know if that's true. That might be the only thing I've said today that's bullshit, but in saying that, that thought process makes sense to me, is we don't know how we influence others. So, treat people like they're people, understand your partnerships, leverage relationships with people that are like-minded with you, but that are willing to challenge you. And always be willing to bring people along for the ride. Because in doing that, it makes it enjoyable. Okay? So that's my time. I think we're supposed to ask if you have questions, because Collin's going to answer them.
Are you going to hang out for drinks afterwards?
Am I?
Yeah.
Probably for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do Q&A in there.
Okay, perfect.
And come hang on bar just because we're coming close to 9 o'clock. We got a few things to wrap up here.
Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for sticking with us through this.
Oh, the things that are said under the whispers when you're walking away. Hey guys, let's do a big round of applause for these guys. It's awesome. Hey, so I got a couple things to wrap up here, but while I'm doing this, over at the JM Real Estate Capital, they have a bucket. We're going to give a big book giveaway here in like 5 minutes. If somebody would be willing to grab that bucket and just go around the tables and grab the cards, you put your business card in there, or if you write your name on something, we'll do a drawing giveaway. We got a couple books we're going to give away here in a minute. Also, I think we got quite a few new people or visitors or new members. If you're new, can you raise a hand just so we know who you are? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. I see a few. So thank you so much. And like real quick, what made you join? Like, yeah. Okay, what kind of investing do you want to get into? What kind of investing do you want to get into? Residential? Single family, flips maybe? Rent? Okay. Is there anybody that has single family houses that are rentals in the house? Yep, got a few of us here. Who's got multifamilies? Anybody got some multifamilies? Is there anybody that does storage units? That's the most I've ever seen, and actually in the room, like 4 there. What about trailer parks? Anybody have trailer parks? Mobile home parks. Mobile home parks. It goes. There's none of those in the room, I see. Anybody doing Airbnbs and short-term rentals? And any flippers in the room? Anybody doing flips? What else am I missing there? Yeah, I think that's kind of, so at least kind of gives you an idea of what's in the room, who to look forward to. That's why we encourage you guys all to have drinks in the lounge afterwards. Ask the questions that you want to ask. Normally we leave that time, but we're kind of coming to the end here, so I didn't want to take that time away here. But definitely mingle with those guys about that. And tonight's drinks are also sponsored by Redbox, and Mark is over there. Mark, can you come here real quick and just tell us about Redbox? Mark's been a sponsor for about 3 years now. His company's a little unique. He's got a couple different things he does, but with Redbox, he's been so busy that you had to add what, 100 dumpsters and another truck? Something like that?
Up to 65 containers and 2 trucks, yeah. So.
I'd have to be correct.
Yeah, right. So Redbox Plus dumpsters were the large commercial roll-off containers. We have standard roll-off containers, 20s, 30s, and I just acquired some 40-yarders. Those are really good for demolition or large cleanups. But something unique about us is we have what's called an elite container, and that comes in a 20 and 30-yard size, and that is a roll-off container with 2 porta potties mounted to the front of the roll-off. So if you're getting into your flips and demos that you lose your bathroom, we've got a solution for that too. So we've been this is closing on 4 or 5 years, 4 years. So I was still working full time the first couple years. I finally went full time with Redbox. So I've put a lot of effort into growing it, working with quite a few people from this organization. So it's been a great organization. See a lot of new faces, so that's awesome to see it continue to grow. But yeah, so that's it. If you need some roll-off containers, we can help you out.
Thank you for getting us all drunk tonight. I appreciate it. One cool thing is I was doing a clean out last year, last year, I don't remember, and within I'd say about 6 hours, Mark had a trailer there. I don't know if that's normal or if you just gave me a favor. And then I need another dumpster the next day. That's how fast we filled it up. And there was another one there when we got to the job site. So I appreciate it and can definitely vouch for your services. Real quick on the books, how we do this. If you get a book, you love it, and you're not going to read it again, put your card in it or put your information in it, return it, and we'll give it away again. It's just a way to keep on giving back. It's kind of fun when you open it up and you see 3 or 4 cards in there and it's gone through different people's hands. But that's all about. And then if you do that, we'll also shout you out. So like Austin Compton returned a book, put his card in there, and so that was one cool thing that they did. And we just love that. If there's 5, 6 books to give away, even better. But Ram, you want to come and do the wonderful giveaway? Getting a lot of hard time with my glasses today, huh? Starts with Owen. He goes from there. Okay, so you got a whole bunch of giveaways here. Okay, so winner is.
Here, you pick.
All that mixing. Wow, there's a big card in here. Wow, is this your official business card? Angela Peters from Realty One Group. So you can pick a book out here. Come on down. Okay, while she's doing that, we're going to get the next one going here. Okay, next one is Samantha Kennedy Ward. She's the CEO and founder of Real Estate Solutions. Oh, and you're new too, right? What a win. Okay, do you want to do another giveaway, or how do you want to do that? Okay. Let's just pick it. We'll draw a card, and if you do or don't want it, that's your choice, okay? Joe Manzari, we have you from Midwest Removal, a proud sponsor of us, takes your junk away. Would you like a shirt that says this? What's it say? I buy houses in any condition, and my lender is. There you go. You want that? Oh, you're the proud winner. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it. Okay, guys. Come enjoy, have a good time. The last thing I can ask is just give us a review for OmahaREIA on Google, and give us a review for our podcast. It means a world to us, and I appreciate everything you guys do for us. And I hope to see you guys at our luncheon here in about a week, I think it is. Oh, and we'll be at the rail car. So have a great night. Thank you to our speakers. Have a great night, guys. Thank you to our sponsors, too. Is there any way to queue up that video of the pec tear to put it on the screen over here?